you actually pronounce your last name?
It depends who you ask.
Oh, I'm asking you.
Balliet.
Balliet. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
That's how the younger generation
is pronounces it.
Yeah.
But that is the real technical way.
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Some of my aunts will say Balliet. Some of my dad says Balliet. I think that it's traditionally Balliet.
Yeah.
It's French. It's a French word, so it's what me and my sisters go by for sure.
Okay, yeah. So Scott Balliet, yeah. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know you're born and raised in Bismarck, right?
Yep.
What high school?
BHS.
Yeah, same. Okay, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Oh yeah, we did mention that. Yeah.
2010.
What? 2010.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Beautiful. And I want to actually start into how you got into fencing, because I know my ex-father-in-law does it, and I know the kind of work it is. When did you start that? Why did you start it? And how long have you been doing it?
Yeah, so after my freshman year of college, so the summer of 2011, I just took I went to school at ASU down in Phoenix, and then when I would come back here during the summer, and I was just looking for a summer gig, and I had some family friends that started a fencing business basically, and I was just cool, let's try it out, and I got one of my buddies to do it with me, and so we did it that summer, and I kind of knew right away that it was in my realm. I picked it up really quick. I liked the always thinking about things. You're always, even though you're doing the same things, there's a lot of repetitiveness. There's the land changes, this changes. You're speaking with customers. You have to take into account weather or water or snow, eventually snow when winter comes, So I just liked that, and then did that the first summer. Came back again the summer of 2012 to just work for this guy, and basically when the year started, he told me that he was just going to liquidate the company at the end of the year because they were doing it as a summer gig. They were from big farming families. They were just going to take over the farm and kind of go that route. So it was kind of just a temporary thing for them, and I saw an opportunity more or less, and I was kind of, just doing school. I was at ASU. It was just I was having a good time. You know what I mean? I hadn't picked a major.
Yep.
I was just kind of coasting through classes. I had a great time. I met a lot of cool people, but I kind of knew I had to somewhat make a decision, and I was dealing with a little bit of health issues. So I was I'm just going to take the next semester off at the end of my second year. And then I was told that, they were going to liquidate the company, and it was it's kind of just falling into place. And I was well, can I buy it from you and just buy all the equipment? So I just took a loan in the basically August of 2012.
Okay.
Was when I started it, and just kind of bought all the equipment off them, paid a little bit for the name for the client list essentially, and then so
13 years.
13 years, yeah. I finished out that year, because they were doing it from we were all college kids, so they were doing it from end of college year to we'd end in August, but I saw you can go from ground thaw to ground freeze, so you should be able to get, I don't know, I would say we usually make it from April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. We make it about 8 to 9 months every year.
Wow.
We can usually make it into December.
Yeah.
Before the ground freezes, or we just get 10 feet of snow, and then that basically shuts you down too.
Yeah. Well, in North Dakota it does.
In North Dakota,
yeah. So what do you, if somebody doesn't know much about what it takes to run that fencing business every single year, what do you think is the hardest challenge you face every year?
Employees, for sure. Finding good help, finding people that want to work, care about their job. I mean, that's the biggest thing as a small business. It's I rely on my employees to make real decisions, because we're building fence over miles, so I can't be in someone's ear. It's not like we're painting a room, you know, and I can turn around
Yeah.
and there he is. It's like, no, I got to send him off to do something and trust that they're going to do it. Or I might be in the skid steer and they might be out here and I'm going to level it from my point of view. They need to level it from their point of view. And we're putting in big posts and it's like, you know, there's this trust factor that has to be built up. So I need employees to care, more or less. You know, anybody
huge.
can show up.
Yep.
Anybody can you can be a really good worker too, and that sometimes is as good. But if you really care about it, and if you're slow, it's like at least you care, and you're learning. When you care, you learn faster. You know, you get past those early stages of slowness, I guess, because sometimes from year to year, being that I start with new employees most of the time every year, I always want to jump in and just keep the momentum of how I remember at the end of the year. And it's like, I have to take a step back and remember okay, there's a new guy coming in. You just it's not gonna be as good as fast as you want to do it. It's never gonna be as good as you were at the end of the last year unless you retain all of your employees that just know right off the bat exactly what's happening.
Do you feel like when you started back in 2012 or whatever that was, how you managed employees then versus how you manage them now? Is it a completely different Scott?
I wouldn't say completely different. You know, I'm definitely not the type of boss that gets overly angry. I'm just not really an angry person. So I've had coaches and bosses that are, you know, kind of that get on you and yell at you, and I can respond to that, but I understand that other people can't, and I also just don't like being that type of person. I don't want it's not a good way to deal with stress for me, yelling things off. I'd rather calm myself and then, you know, just handle the situation. Now, I think in the early years, I maybe was a little too lenient, and I was taken advantage of to small extents, you know, where guys maybe didn't work as hard. And, you know, in the early years, I hired a lot of friends. So then there's a little bit of that. You're young and you don't understand that sometimes people respond to just being this is what needs to happen.
Yep.
This is how you need to do it. This is what it is. And sometimes you do have to get on guys, but you just communicate with them. And so I would say just my communication now is better. And I've just, you know, just from learning, you just I'm very much I'm just going to do things and then deal with the consequences and learn from them and just try to be better all the time. So, you know, I wouldn't say I'm completely different, but definitely just growth and you know, we do things differently. We only work 4 days a week. You know, I've kind of rounded things out to where guys like that, you know, it's you get 3-day weekends every weekend. We work
nice.
4 10s, 4 10 to 12s, you know, whatever the job requires. So they get a little overtime. They, you know that they're getting a 3-day weekend every weekend. You know, I kind of also like it because if I need to do more things on Friday, it leaves me that day to do those things. And then also it incentivizes them to if they have doctor's appointments or if they have whatever, they should just schedule them for Friday because that's your day off. You know what I mean? And it's still a work day for other people. So I think, you know, that's something that I've changed. I've tried to incorporate, for the last 4 years, I bring in a yoga teacher down to the shop.
That's cool.
Once a week.
Wow.
And if the guys, I kind of leave it up to them, but it's, you know, if they want to show up an hour early for work, they get paid to come in and do yoga. And it's Sigrid from Transitions Yoga here in Bismarck, and she is the owner and just great, just awesome, is great with the guys. And it kind of gives an opportunity for these guys that have never done yoga before, a very safe space to learn yoga for the first time. You know, you're not going to a studio around a bunch of people not knowing what you want to do, and it's free. You're actually getting paid to be there. Yeah. And it's a way for me to fit yoga in with my busy schedule. You know what I mean? I'm so busy. I want to get to yoga. I want to get to yoga, but I don't always get to, you know, so it's a way to just incorporate it into my week, and the guys love it. That's cool. I've never had a guy that was just I don't want to do that. Yeah. You know, maybe a guy sleeps in and misses it for that reason or whatever, but everybody is man, I got to be doing that more, you know? Yeah. And that's just, it's good for we do manual labor, so like it's keeps them in shape too, you know.
Fun fact: did you finish graduating at ASU? No. How many years were you down there?
2.
2. Okay. Yep. Did you learn anything valuable down there?
Like in school?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's okay if you didn't.
Nah, probably not.
No. Just enjoyed yourself.
Just enjoyed myself, you know, and just met a lot of cool people from a lot of different places, you know. I think like I learned more just about like, you know, the melting pot of the US. Growing up in Bismarck, it's not like we have a lot of diversity, so just being in like a diverse place around a bunch of different people with a bunch of different views, and you know, I think that set me up for just being a very open-minded person now, you know, and so I'd say I learned more just like as a people person and learning more about myself down there than actually like in school.
So I heard you might have recently flipped a house.
I did recently flip a house.
Was that your one and only so far that you've done?
Yes.
Okay. What
I've flipped other smaller items.
Oh, okay, yeah. But the actual house, that was your first time?
First house, yeah.
Okay. What, on a scale 1 to 10, how do you think it went?
I think I mean, the outcome, 10. I'm very happy with like how, you know, the return on investment turned out, you know, in terms of like the amount of work that went into it. I mean, I think that it was more work than I like maybe initially thought, and that's part of it, you know. The thing is I don't work in the winter, so like it kind of was like, okay, I have this window of opportunity to just get all this stuff done. But then also, did I do that last winter? Then summer came really early last year, and so like I thought I was gonna have until middle of April to work on this house, but summer the ground thawed in like early March. So like I was like, okay. So then it kind of prolonged. I was like working fencing and then also working with the MoonCats and then also coming home after work and going up to the house and doing that, you know? So it was like, and then I ended up hiring some extra stuff out, you know, that you're just like, I thought I could do that, but no.
What was the best thing you learned that you didn't realize when you were in the middle of it? If somebody wants to flip a house and they're watching this and they're like, I want to flip a house, it looks so cool, I want to make money, what would you tell somebody that's saying that to
you? Just be willing to work, I guess, is like there's just a lot more work than, you know, like be willing to be resourceful. Like you have your friends, you have like people that you know, even if they're not actually coming over and doing it, like if they can come over and talk to you about what they would do or how they would handle a situation, because sometimes it's valuable to just, they might come over and say like, I know you wanted to do this, but I would bring a professional in to do this because it's just too much. It's more work than it's worth doing for yourself, you know, and that's very valuable to know because you have to delegate your time correctly.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It's like when you're flipping a house and you have other jobs and you have other responsibilities, it's like you want to take a lot of it on yourself, but if you're handy and if you have the tools, but also listen to like the people that are professionals too. Take everything in. You know, if you bring a professional in, you don't have to technically hire them, but be there, talk to them, have questions ready so that if they walk away and you're like, hey, I feel like this, I could do what they just told me they did, then do it. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's the other way. You know, sometimes just pay the guy and move on because you can now do something else. You know, I would say just like understand that there's like a lot of time management and like that. Was finding the deal, like finding a house that could be flipped, was that pretty challenging? Like, no, not at all. It just fell in my lap. It's kind of why I did it, more or less. It was I was just scrolling Realtor.com and kind of came upon this house that was like on the market for a couple days, and it was like very like, you could tell that something had to be going on with it because it was just like super underpriced, you know, and and it had to be a cash deal, so like, you know, there was some things like that, and it kind of just fell in my lap, and that's kind of why I did it.
Yep.
I just see an opportunity, take an opportunity. It's kind of one of those things. And if I do see an opportunity and I decide I'm gonna do it, no matter what it is, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, you just handle it, whatever it is. It was a cool house. It had like a lot of character, and it had like rounded doors, and it had just like this really cool character. And I love like interior design and putting colors together and putting rooms together, and I wanted to have the freedom to kind of do that too. So it was like a little bit of I wanted like my artisticness to come through in the house, but still make it marketable. I had a lot of people that were like, you have to make it extremely marketable. Like, you paint the walls this, you don't do this, or you don't make it too extravagant. But in my mind, it was like, yeah, you might take a little percentage out of the people that aren't gonna want it. But if you make it nice enough, and you make it, and you believe in yourself, in your artistic vision of it, like, it's gonna create something that like creates a lot of wow factor too. So like,
how long did it take?
I bought it in December of 2023 and sold it this last February. So just over a year.
Yeah. So,
13 months.
That's a longer flip. I mean, most people try to flip them in under a year, but I mean, that's still pretty. And see, when you brought up the point where you said that you had to buy it in cash, that it had to be a cash deal, most people that I talk to that are like, I want to flip houses, I want to know some options. And, a lot of people call me inquiring about it, and then they don't know the ins and outs, so they just want to get some information. Mm-hmm. I would say 80 to 90% of flips don't go with any financing, and they usually don't even go on the market.
Right.
Like 20, 30% maybe of deals that, like you saw one that was listed, that's a little rare, because a lot of realtors that are involved and or people that are going to be coming across a property, whether the bank is foreclosing on it, there's a group of people in almost every city that I've known now, just talking to people all over the country, where you want to flip homes, you got to be in. When people say, what's your like number one recommendation when you're flipping homes, you got to find the group of people that do it in your city and get in with them. Got to get in the group text, got to get in the group emails, you got to get in the mixers and the dinners, and you got to find out, because those deals that are about to hit the market, they'll shoot those messages out.
Yep.
Hey guys, got this property coming up. We're not going to put it on the market yet. Anybody want it? And they're gone. Like most flip houses that get flipped, they never see the market. So if you're trying to search and go, I want to flip homes, you shouldn't be scrolling. You came up on a gem. I mean, like you said, I had to do it. It fell in my lap. Yeah. That's rare. That's 1 in maybe 50. When those real good flips that hit, you ask those people, hey, did it go on the market? Nah. Buddy told me about it.
Yep.
That you got to be in with the people that know the people that know the people. And once you find out those connections and make those calls, then you do got to have silent investors. Like, you got to partner up somebody that's got cash. Yep. You guys did it in cash. There are loans out there like fix and flip, and there's a couple like commercial lines of credit. You can work at a bank or credit union, work with one that will do some in-house stuff that aren't going to be as strict. But your normal loans that people think they can do, like down payment assistance or low money down, those are anti-flip houses, because the house has to be livable, move-in ready, everything working, nothing damaged, because the appraiser's going to go out and go, nope, fix this, fix this, fix this.
Yeah.
So the houses that are really good flippers that need 40, 50, 60K, and then you flip it and make your profit, those houses won't pass an appraisal, won't pass a normal loan. So that's why it says no financing, cash only.
Yeah, yeah, and that's basically this wouldn't have passed any inspection. Didn't have water, didn't have, electricity was bad. Like, it
bingo.
And it was all basically exactly what you're saying. The guy that I got it from, he didn't even work on it. He got it at a lower rate, like maybe even freaking 4 months before. Had a couple other flip houses that he was doing. This one just became too much, and he's just like, I'm gonna flip it. And it ended up being a guy that I knew too. And I also got that impression that, like, yeah, he knew like where it was coming from. And also when I went into buying that house, it was right around the same time as North Dakota or Bismarck, Burleigh County does like their delinquent tax auctions.
Okay.
You know about that?
Yeah. Yep.
And like we also put in on like a couple other houses around Bismarck, but when you go to those and you do those, you talk to these other guys, or you can, what you're talking about with how you're like, oh, you kind of got to get into this. How do you find those peoples? And that would be like, if you look for auctions or delinquent houses and you go to these auctions and even just watching, even if you're not doing it, if you look at this, these are the people that are doing it. These are the people that are buying these houses. Now go talk to them. You know what I mean? Find a way into that, you know, those niche things. And, you know, I didn't need to do that, luckily, and I don't really foresee myself flipping houses just because I'm too busy, more or less. And I mean, it was great. I did really well, and I'm like very happy on like my return, but like it's just one of those things. You got to pick your poison, more or less.
Yeah.
What are you passionate about? You know, I think
right.
that's a huge part of what the things I do.
I like how you mentioned, you said, do the work, like get ready to do the work. And like, that's why even if you want to take on a flip, maybe your first one, you got to know it should be probably way more work than you actually think it's gonna, and then add that times 2.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Like, oh, I'll do that on like the weekends that I'm not doing so-and-so. It's like, yeah, hunker in, like yours took a year. Some people get them done in 3 to 4 months, but those people usually have crews.
Yeah.
You know, and some of these loans out there that I can offer are like, you know, these renovation financing. Even VA has a product for it, which is cool. FHA conventional, they have their own renovation loan where you can piggyback in a contractor's bid and their work into your loan, close it, then the contractor gets a certain amount of time, and then they build in the repairs into your 30-year fixed mortgage.
Sure.
It's really cool. And then you have your fix and flip, like I said, but those loans have a lot of red tape and they're very restrictive. So, you know, like I like to say they're like a flashy object.
Right.
You know, they're cool. They get people into homes, and some areas of the country, not really Bismarck, but some areas that have tons of distressed homes that just still haven't been resold and they've been literally vacant for years, that can be like maybe gutted and reflipped. Those need cash, and those need those like commercial lines of credit, not a home loan that I can do, you know? But yeah, flips are pretty cool. But let's get into one of the main reasons why you came here tonight, right? Let's talk about the Kickstart. Let's talk about the MoonCats.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm a big music industry guy. I'm a big music lover. I travel all around the country just to see concerts, right? It's like one of my hobbies. And I remember, you don't know much about my background, but, you know, my whole life, whether it was like doing home concerts with my parents or knowing every Tupac song by the time I was a 5th grader, you know, even writing my own songs.
Sure.
You know, I have over 200 songs that I've wrote myself here in my home studio. But like, music is a huge passion of mine. I would say if you asked me in high school and college what would be a dream job of mine, it would be to work in the music industry, like be a producer or a music manager, or, you know what I mean, like be an artist. And I didn't take that path, obviously, but
not yet.
Not yet. Hey, not yet.
Never know.
But you're in it now. You're in it. So you're managing the MoonCats. Yep. So give me a little breakdown of when you started with the band, the MoonCats, who they are, what you do for them, and what you guys are in the middle of doing right now.
Sure. So I started with the MoonCats in the spring of 2023. It was just, you know, some guys that I had met at a festival the summer before, and we just kind of became really good friends. And, you know, I'd obviously been running my business for years before that, and I love music too. I wasn't really part of the music scene before I had kind of met them, and then I started to kind of get into it a little bit, and they just approached me and were like, hey, like, we see what you're doing, like, you sometimes get on us about like needing to have more merch or whatever, because that's just kind of the type of person that I am, you know. And they were just like, how would you feel about, you know, managing us? And I was like, yeah, I thought about it, and I was like, let's do a trial period, because one, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know if I'm gonna like it or if I'm gonna have the time to do it. And two, it needs to make sense for you guys too. You know, like let's do 3 months and see where we're at. And you know, we came up with an agreeable price for me. You know, and we kind of just like went into it. And so like basically when I started out, it was a lot of like building structure, right? Like, you know, making sure our merch was in order, you know, merchandise and the MoonCats, the MoonCats brand, you know, just when it, like the brand itself, when I think of MoonCat, like whether it's the guys or the music, I just like loved the idea. Like it's just like such an easy marketable thing, you know, and they had already done a really good job of like having merch. Like it wasn't, you know, some bands you go, they might have like stickers or they might have a few things. They at least had like CDs and some t-shirts and some hats and like a couple options, and they were well on their way to kind of like being there, you know. And so what I did when I first came in is I hyper focused on that. Like, let's make sure we always have what we need on hand. Let's make sure that we're dedicating money specifically towards the merch. Let's make sure that like when we go to shows, we have someone behind the merch booth at all times. Like we pay a merch person basically since I came on, because I was like, you need to have someone behind it. If you know, you can have someone sit to the side or this or that, but like when there's someone behind there to greet you, you know, someone might be leaving halfway through the show and they want to stop at the merch booth, and if someone's not there, they probably just gonna leave. Yeah. Probably just gonna leave. So, you know, it really went into like organizing that. You know, like that was like my big first push is like track it, organize it, make it presentable so that like everybody can see it, and kind of go from there. And then, you know, like that was like my first kind of getting that all in order. I created an Excel program. We kind of Slinger, he's our harmonica and guitar player and one of our songwriters. Yeah. Jordan Esslinger, which you probably know Jordan from wrestling. Yeah. His wife, Dakota, does a lot of our merchandise and is a big part of our team. And so, cool. Like, I like to go through her, you know, whether it's like design or like just kind of like working as a team, you know, it's like you can't have everybody decide on everything. But if me and Dakota run the merch a lot, you know, she's going to have a good understanding of like what's selling, or like, let's talk about colors, or what can we bring in? Do we need new designs? Does it feel like we're kind of slowing down on certain designs, this and this? So just kind of like putting together a structure of like how this was going to go with the merch. And then that kind of, you know, got its ground. And now like we're in a place where it's like we're always on top of things. We're coming up with new ideas. Cool. We have every thing that you can possibly think of, you know, hats and beanies and fanny packs and t-shirts and sweatshirts and
that's cool.
Socks. And
selling it online too?
Online too, mooncatsmusic.com.
Beautiful. And where do the MoonCats live?
The MoonCats live, two of them, Danny and Sky, live in Bismarck, and Slinger lives what we call Moon Camp, which is up near Pick City on Lake Sakakawea.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and so Moon Camp, it was kind of like they had all lived there, all three guys had lived there for like a year before I came on, and then kind of Slinger and Dakota got together, and then they kind of took the house on, and the guys moved to Bismarck, and, you know, we make it work, you know, type thing. But yeah, and like I said, Jordan Esslinger, he's the, I would say, lead middle guy, and songwriter, harmonica, little banjo, guitar, and then Danny Savage, big beard, you know, multi-instrumentalist, plays banjolele, mandolin, washboard.
Wow.
Guitar, harp. I don't know, I'm trying to think. What else does he play, Foster?
Everything.
I mean, anything. He can literally play.
He plays a rock.
He plays the kazoo. He plays the kazoo. We got some kazoo songs.
Oh yeah.
And then Sky is our upright bass player, and he is also very multi-instrumentalist. Like the guys, they'll switch around. Like if Sky has a song that he wrote, he'll hop over to the guitar, and Danny will go to upright bass. And so like there's a lot of like multi-instrumentalists. It's like three guys that play 8-9 instruments, you know, not all at one time, but you know, it's like there's always like interchanging happening between them. So like I think that's a really cool aspect of the band, you know. A lot of folk, bluegrass, it's like there's a banjo guy, there's a mandolin guy, there's an upright bass guy, there's a guitar guy. And that's great. You know, as I'm nothing against that, but I think that there's a uniqueness to like being able to having that ability to switch between instruments and do all these cool things.
And what's going on with Kickstart? What's that all about?
We're just trying to fund for our 4th studio album and everything that comes with like doing an album. You know, we've done 3 albums before. They were all self-produced, all done in-house, you know, low marketing, if any whatsoever, you know, just Sky, the upright bass player, does all the mixing, our mastering. And so we wanted to kind of like, as our trajectory has come along since I first started, we've built everything up from the merchandise to like we market every show to social media to all the aspects that come with like trying to build a band, especially trying to build a band from North Dakota where like there's not a music industry, right? Like you're trying to get in with the right players, you're trying to work with the right people, do all these things. So like as we progress, I knew that our music, we had to like really push like and try to make something big happen with it, you know. And we've been building this momentum, playing festivals, getting more recognized, making more fans, playing a lot, you know, playing all summer long, and just like every day those guys are crazy, and so I wanted to take this 4th album and just like take it out of our hands in a sense, right? Like have someone else record us, put it in someone else's mixing hand, you know, have someone do the art. And, you know, we're outsourcing these to like local people, you know, like having local people shoot our music videos, having, you know, there's a lot of aspects that go into an album. You know, some people are like, oh yeah, you just record it and you mix it and you master it. And like, yeah, there's that. But then do you want CDs? Do you want artwork? Do you want to promote it? I mean, I'm sure you know promotion is just like, that's everything, you know. Like if you look at labels, there's a reason why these bands that are on labels do really well, because they're taking a song or an album or whatever it is and they're, you know, they have a publicist that's putting it out to magazines and they're talking about it in the lead up. They're building this hype up for 30 days. They might be putting thousands of dollars into the 30-day build up, and then it drops and there's already this build up, and then they're running a campaign that gets you on talk shows and that gets you on all these different things. You know, they're working their magics and they've obviously have like connections and stuff, but money's being spent in those times. You know, you're just trying to get out there. You need to, as an independent band, like we are trying to do everything, you know. And so like I put together a budget that I believe will allow us to take that next step, to maybe hire a publicist, to maybe push the boundaries of the MoonCats being in these places we've played, which is, you know, the Midwest mainly. And how do you get the MoonCats music in a independent record store in Florida or in Boston or in New York, or like whether they're major markets or mid markets or small markets? We want to have the avenues to like reach out to that, and to do that, you know, it just takes money. And so we're just trying to go the independent route as much as we possibly can, and, you know, looking for help from the community, you know, asking, you know, these people that have supported us to like, you know, it's kind of like Small Business Friday, or, you know, like it's like we're just a small business that needs the help from the community to try to do big things, to try to chase our dreams, you know, of like doing this, you know, like you said, you grew up as a kid that had a dream to, you know, that you wanted to do something, and these guys and me a little bit are trying to do that, and they're succeeding to a certain extent. And like I think it's just incredibly admirable to chase that. Absolutely. You know, and so to me, when I saw the opportunity to do this Kickstarter, I was like, I would be sad if we didn't do it, because that means I'm not doing everything in my power to try to get them to where their dream is, you know, because I maybe wanted to be a basketball player. Like some things are unrealistic as a kid, you know, as a kid, you're like, I want to be this, but it's just not realistic. And although a very small amount of people make it in the music business, like if you are like if you have the motivation and you're good enough and you've created something and you aren't doing everything in your power to try to get to that spot, then you don't want it enough.
That's right.
You know, and these guys do. And I see that. And because I can see that from the outside, it drives me to do everything in my power to motivate them to see, like, I see things before they do, you know, like they're just doing their thing, and it's like I can see the love that they get. Like I go to the grocery store and someone's wearing a MoonCats shirt, and like, you know, they're starting to get recognized when we go places, and just like it's this crazy building thing, and it's like this is a way to honor that, like to support that, to be like, yeah, we deserve to be where we are and to do it our way, and to use the help of like the, you know, our friends and family to hopefully support like a community driven local independent business that's trying to chase their dreams. You know, there's a lot of small businesses where it's like, yeah, I'm just doing it because it worked out for me and I don't actually love my job. These guys are like doing something that they love and they like have thought about since they were kids. Like, I'll be a musician for nothing. You know what I mean? Like when I came in, they were, you know, doing all right, but it's like musicians are the artists that like will go and play a 3-hour set for $200 with 5 guys, and they're like, cool, I got to play music in front of people. And it's like, you know, if you have the opportunity to honor the work that you put in by like striving for your goals and striving for your dreams, and, you know, take it. And do everything you can to take it. And so that's kind of where this Kickstarter is. And it's, you know, it's been a really cool process. We're working with a guy, Travis McNamara, he's out of Colorado. He's a banjo player in Trout Steak Revival. And he's just been like an absolute gem to work with. He is very knowledgeable. He's basically coaching us through the whole thing, setting us up. Like, we had Zoom meetings. We had basically 7 weeks of prep work that went into it. And, you know,
this is all for the album, right? Not a tour.
All for the album. And, you know, everything, you know, like you need to go on tour. Like, you know, we are looking for a lofty goal. We're hoping to reach our goal of 27,500, I believe is the number. And, you know, tour is attached to that. Like, the more we can get, the more we can utilize, whether it's tour, whether it's merchandise, whether it's vinyl, whether it's, you know, working with a publicist. It's like all of those things are part of an album, because you have to go on tour when you have an album. That's how you promote it. You know, it's more than just the album, you know? So like when we say help MoonCats, like help fund our album, it's a whole scope. You know, it's the artwork, it's the, you know, working with music, making music videos, working with the right people on things, going on tour, having like certain merchandise, you know, specific for this.
Takes so much money.
It takes a lot of things if you want to do it to the best of your ability. Right? Like you could do it. You could do it. We've made 3 albums that were very minimal cost, and we've done all right with those. But if you want to do it to the best of your ability, it takes money, and the more money, the better. You know, it's like that's You know, I wish I could have $100,000 to market it. You know, like the big dogs do. Better, you know, you could do so much with things, but you know,
you brought up a good point. You brought up like, you know, I always I would say starting high school, college, when I would hear stuff like, if you believe it, you can achieve it. You know, anything's possible.
Sure.
You know, kind of pumping these thoughts in young kids' heads of like, you know, even though you're 4'10", you're going to be an NBA star. If you want it, you'll make it happen.
Sure.
And it's like, no, see me, I'm 5'4". I was never going to be an NBA star. You know, I loved to play basketball when I was a kid, but I moved into wrestling because basketball wasn't going to be realistic long term.
Right.
But, you know, and I really believe in, and I stand for a few principles, and one of them is kind of the all-in mentality, right? And you talked about to the best of your ability. And what I'm seeing with the MoonCats and what you're doing with them is they've had a dream. They, you know, did they think they were going to be in music when they were in grade school? Maybe not. Maybe they liked it, but did they think they'd be the MoonCats? They had no idea. They were young kids.
Right.
But I think the moral of the story that I'm hearing out of this with you is that, for me, I fell into mortgage. You kind of fell into managing them. So many of my friends and family that fell into what they're doing now, it had to do with the passion, with their heart, aligning with their heart. And it's like, maybe it looked cool when I was young, looking at Michael Jordan and being like, I want to be like Mike.
Yeah.
Or, like the terminologies we get. But, I thought it would be cool, but my heart wasn't there. So the better messaging we should be telling kids and people growing up is, you can't do anything, because that's weird. You can do some things, but what you pick, do it with all. Do it with your all. Do it with your heart. And I think as we're trying things, like we're trying sports when we're younger. Oh, that didn't work. Played soccer. Nope. Switch. Football. Yep. Well, that was not good. Oh, let's try wrestling.
Yeah.
You try things and you take the attempts and you see if they align with your heart. And just like I've been talking to Matt about this for the last year, it's like, you can't know if you're passionate about something until you sacrifice.
Yep.
Like hearing the sacrifice it takes for a independent local band out of North Dakota to try to make it out there and to run with their dream, it takes sacrifice. Hours and hours of busting your butt.
Yep.
Just like for me, I was never the best mortgage lender. I didn't even think I really liked it. But after I sacrificed in a couple big moments of my early career, I was like, now I'm in it now. Now I'm not going to go through all, especially now, like this last year or two, people are like, man, how's the market? It's been terrible.
Yeah.
How's lending been? Not that great.
Yeah.
Right? So like, but you don't go out there and pump out that negative energy onto people. But, the reality is what it's taken to get through these tough times and what it's taking for a band and their manager to push through, trying to get the funds, trying to promote and get the album made and all that. It takes grit. It takes sacrifice. And I think once you just detach from what's going to happen, like, are you guys going to get the album done? Probably. I believe you guys are. When, how, with who, you're working on it.
Yeah.
But detach from the end result. Like for me, am I going to be a lender forever? I don't know. And I don't care.
Yeah.
I just know I'm doing it right now at the best of my ability.
Yep. That's exactly right.
That's how the magic happens.
That's how the magic happens. Yep. I'm an all-in guy. I mean, you said it earlier. It's just like if it's feeling with me, I'm gonna do it, right? Like if it's, obviously the managerial thing came upon me, but it was like it felt right. It felt good. It was in my realm of things I'd already kind of been doing, but like also the beauty of like being around music, right? Like I get to be around music all the time. Like that feels great, right? It's just live music feels good. The energy feels good. And then like to see the progression, like the influences that I've helped create, the where we've gone. And it's not all me, but like it's the combination, the teamwork to get where we've done. And it's sacrifices from all standpoints. And, to see as a boss, like to see growth in people. I manage people, like I've been doing it through all my businesses for a long time. So like I have a keen sense of like understanding, like just like small growths, and when you are gritty and you're willing to work and you're willing to dive into whatever it is, growth will come no matter what, even if you have failures. Like that's what people are scared of failures. They're scared of mistakes. And so like it stops you from doing things, but like you just have to do, and you're going to learn and you're going to grow. And sometimes it's going to feel like you're going backwards, but then 2 years later, you're going to look back and be like, oh, even though I went backwards there, I probably actually went forward because your mentality switched or you learned something through that process. It's just this like incredible thing. And I have been seeing this growth from the MoonCats now for 2 years, and it's just like a beautiful thing. And it's whether it's musically or just like even personally or just like even like their personal responsibility, because sometimes working with a band, it's like herding cats a little bit, it's like they're musicians, but like when you get a little professionalism and you see the benefits of doing things certain ways, it's like it starts to click for everybody. And then, the guys are showing up on time and they're, maybe they weren't always like, we need to be there 2 hours earlier. We need to pick up after each other. We need to like one guy's doing all the work, a lot of times in bands, but that's not really sustainable. And so like when you bring someone in like me, it can help focus that energy to like where people are good at their things that they're good at. And then it allows everybody to put in the right amount of effort.
And you weren't searching to be in the music industry or to be a music manager at all, band manager. It just, you were around the people, and then just connections happened, and they're like, hey, maybe you could manage us, right? So you fell into this.
I fell into it. Just completely fell into it. And and
you fell into fencing.
I fell into fencing. And I fell into the house.
And you fell into the house.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a theme here, buddy.
Even my own house. I fell into that house too. Just
I'm
it showed
seeing
up.
a theme here, yeah. But
Scott Balliet.
yeah. Just falling right into
and I just have to share this because it happened today, okay? And as I was hearing you talk, this is big. So I've had this theme even back, I remember back when I got pretty much beginning of my mortgage career, and a few of my employees, I'm like, my favorite word is ask, okay? So whether you look at the story of how two people got married, one of those two people asked each other out.
Sure.
How you get a job usually, you ask. Whether the MoonCats asked you or you asked them, somebody asked each other.
Right.
Whether you ask to go somewhere and it happens and you meet somebody asked, right? So with business, especially in sales like I'm in, right? Most of the relationships I've inquired about, it's about literally the word ask, right? And I'm going to tell you a story about last summer, and then I'm going to tell you a story about today. Last summer, I was taking my daughter and 3 of her friends to the amusement park in Bismarck. I thought we had plenty of time. We got there about 25, 30 minutes before it was closing.
Sure.
And we get there, we go to the check-in, they're pumped, they're running there. Let's get tickets, We have 30 minutes. Let's rip a bunch of rides. We still got time. The lady at the front goes, I'm sorry, once we get to 7:30, we don't sell any more tickets. And I'm like, but you're open till 8. You got another half hour. Nope, sorry, that's our policy. And I was like, well, I don't like this policy. And I was like, look at these girls right here. And I was like, really? I was like, come on, sell us some tickets.
Yeah.
Like, we're here. Sorry, can't do it. And I was like, you're going to tell these 4 girls right here with 30 minutes to go, they can't ride even the super slide? Sorry, no. And I look around and I'm like, power of asking. And I went over to a worker, different one. And I'm like, I'm not okay with being told no right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be polite, professional, calm.
Yep.
Hey, I just got told we can't buy tickets, but you have it in the half an hour you're open. People are running around, right, doing games. So why can't why can't? She goes, well, the owner's just right over there. Why didn't you go ask her?
Sure.
So I walked right up to the owner and I was like, hey, I got these girls here. They just want to ride a few rides for 30 minutes. Can we? Sure, we'll sell you some tickets.
Yeah.
See?
Yep.
Ask. Today, I'm going on a trip this weekend, and I was going to have a guest come with. I purchased the ticket for this other person to come with, and they let me know that they can't come now. Okay? So I hit up the airline, and I'm like, hey, canceling the ticket, but it's not letting the ticket cancel and go into my name. I purchased the ticket.
Sure.
And the airline goes, well, that ticket's going to go into that person's name because their name's on the ticket, but we're going to give the e-credit to that person. And I said, okay, but I bought the ticket.
Right.
I should get the e-credit, or I should get a refund. Can I get a refund? Or I'll take the credit because I'll probably book another flight this year. Sorry, we can't do that. That person's going to have to call in and allow to transfer it to you. And I said, well, see, there's a problem with that. It's not going to work that way. I said, so there's nothing you can do? And I was like, and she's like, nope, sorry, that's the policy. And I said, can I talk to a manager? And then she's like, well, the manager's going to tell you the same thing. I was like, have a great day, bye. I waited 30 minutes and I was like, feel like you did that okay. So I called the airline again, said, hey, can I talk to a manager? Here's what's going on. And then the gal was like, sure, blah, blah, blah. Got to the manager. The manager goes, hey, what's going on? I was like, I called in earlier. I'm calling again. I know you guys have this policy. I said, but I don't understand. I've been a card member. I've booked flights with you guys for over like a decade. Mm-hmm. This is what the situation that's going on. If the e-credit goes in this person's name, I'm going to lose all my money. It doesn't make any sense. I said, I need either an e-credit or a refund. I bought it.
Yeah.
You guys can see my card number. I bought it. Can I put you on hold, sir? And I said, sure you can. Came back on the line 5 minutes later. We'll make an exception, and we are going to be refunding you on your card. Thank you for explaining the situation, and thank you for asking and telling us what happened. We'll honor it, and we'll credit you.
Yeah. That's awesome, though.
You ask.
You gotta ask.
You can't be afraid to ask. And especially whether it's the music industry, the mortgage industry, the education world, you gotta ask and you gotta figure it out. And you gotta ask, and like you said, fear. And when people are scared of things and they don't act, I want to do this, but well, they're not doing it because they're afraid to ask.
Yep.
I think once you can push through and just don't worry about what see, it's the detachment thing that I've been really practicing in my life, is not worrying about outcomes, what people do, and where I'm gonna end up. And it's hard. It's because I'm kind of a control freak, right? Sure. I'm kind of a type A personality. I'm a people person, so I'm like, I really want to control a lot of things. But that's trying to control things is anxiety and it's stress. Yep. And I think the more we just detach and go, I'm gonna ask and then see what happens. I'm gonna ask and I'm gonna see what happens. Right? For you guys with your Kickstarter and you guys trying to get this album done, ask, see what happens. Ask, see what happens.
Yep.
And then let the rest handle itself, right?
Totally. Yeah, I think it's been a huge eye-opener for like those guys that aren't used to asking for things, or like asking, you know, we've been doing a lot of direct outreach, you know, reaching out to people that the guys maybe have not talked to in 5-10 years and just asking like, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, I'd really appreciate it if you check out the video and consider donating. You know, there's lots of cool tiers, there's lots of things you can be a part of, and it would just be really awesome. And I think there was a lot of nerve in that right away, because being Midwestern, it's very much like you don't ask for things. Like the opposite, like as you don't, you know, especially money. You don't ask for money, right? Like it's kind of ingrained in, I feel like, North Dakotans, you know, you never ask people for money, but like, it's different. You're like honoring yourself by doing it, you know? And that's something that Travis talked about right away, is like, this is something that you're doing, you're honoring it. And the people that follow you, they love what you're doing, and they want to support you. And if you ask them, the worst that can happen is that they're just not going to respond, or they're going to say no. And then you're in the same spot you were to begin with.
That's right.
So like asking them is really good. And I think like we did the first day the Kickstarter went live, we all got together, we did like a bunch of direct outreach together. And the biggest thing that like stuck out to me is that the guys were very much like, you know, I was nervous about this, but it's actually really cool, because now I'm like creating these conversations with people, these fans or my friends that I haven't talked to in 5 years, just by like doing this direct outreach and asking them. I'm like talking to so-and-so that I haven't talked to in 6 years. And it's like, it might be a short conversation, but you're asking, you're getting a response. Like it's just incredibly valuable. And I think that fear went away. And that goes back to just like doing, right? It's like you're asking, you're doing what's necessary, you know, things will happen. But I always say, the universe reacts to action, right? Yeah. Like there's always, if you make an action, there's gonna be something that happens from it. But if you don't do it, you know, like if you don't make that direct outreach to these people that you haven't, you know, maybe seen or talked to in 7 years, they're probably not gonna contribute, right? Because they're going about their lives. They have kids, they got, you know, things going on. We're all busy in our lives, but they might, you know, see you playing or know that you're playing and like, oh yeah, Danny, like I love that Danny's been playing, you know, I haven't seen him in 10 years. They might not know this is going on, but if you reach out and you ask, or you are doing something, having an action, there's a possibility that something can come back. And that's what it's all about. There's no possibility, you know, it's like you can't make the shots you don't take.
That's right.
You know, it's like.
So why do you think Bismarck in general, you know, what do you think, I could say this. What do you think with Bismarck it is with the local music scene? What do you think it needs, and what do you think would improve our capital city Bismarck music scene? Because Fargo is taking off. More venues. So it's a lack of venues, right?
I would say so. I mean, obviously, like, you know, if you look at bigger names like Fargo, they have the stadiums and the places to support a larger amount of people. So if you're looking for bigger acts, you know, which I wouldn't necessarily say is our local music scene, but just like, you know, there's only a couple breweries around that like local people can play at, you know, and I think that I don't know. I feel pretty good about like where the Bismarck and scene is, just like from the bands themselves. Like there's a lot of like continuity. I think that we're very lucky as a music scene because it's not like a dog eat dog world. Like that's something that I think is really cool about Bismarck. Like you go to Minneapolis, you go to any probably big town, there's probably some continuity, but it's very much like there's so many good artists, there's so many venues, there's so many things, and it's like, how do you get people out to see you? You know, you go to Minneapolis, you could go to probably 6 shows a night if you wanted to, all local bands playing at different places.
More than that.
Probably more, yeah, especially on weekends, you know, so it's like, it's very dog eat dog, and you don't, you know, it's very, probably a lot harder to make a living.
Yep.
Being in a bigger town, you know, we have a benefit of having, you know, we do a lot of local community stuff, you know, with the government or, you know, with the state of North Dakota, or like we're playing in Medora for 4 days this summer, you know, it's just like there's it's a good market that's not oversaturated, and everybody is like, nobody's in it only for themselves, right? It's like we want to lift each other up. And like that's when I think about North Dakota and think about living in Arizona and wanting to live back in North Dakota, you think about like the cool aspect of North Dakota is like we care about our neighbors, right? It's like we don't look at our neighbor and be like, I don't know that guy, I don't know that guy. It's like, oh, you know, I know all my neighbors. Like it's just how it is. They need something. Like, you know, my neighbor came over and asked for flour the other day. It's like, how many that's like happened in the 70s, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, I ran out of eggs, like, can you borrow me an egg? You know, it's like nobody probably does that in other places, and that's like something that is like really beautiful about North Dakota, and also something that's necessary, right? Because like we have snowstorms and we have like things that happen that you need your neighbors. Like we need to rely on our neighbors. We need to rely on our community, and it's a really cool thing. And it goes as direct as like, that's what it's like in the music scene. You know, it's like, I want the MoonCats to succeed because the benefit of the MoonCats succeeding is not just about the MoonCats, right? Like it's about the scene in general, because if we're able to make more money than the bands coming behind us, you know, hopefully they're getting paid more, whether it's through fans coming out and paying for ticket sales, whether it's for venues appreciating the bands enough to pay them what they're worth, you know? Like that's a big thing, setting standards on like what a standard bands should be making. And so like the success of the MoonCats, whether it's the Kickstarter or just beyond, we're not trying to like go to Nashville. We're not trying to like move to these cities. We want to create something big and stay in North Dakota and lift our community. And like right now we're in a place where like we need our community to lift us, right? Like we need our community to step in and be like, okay, Scott's been asking me to like check this out, or Danny's been asking me to check this out, and I haven't done that. But like, if anyone's ever asking you to lift your community up, like now's the time. Like this is a local arts thing that is like these guys trying to chase their dreams. Like what more to get behind than like a community driven thing that also wants to stay in North Dakota and wants to build up, you know. The MoonCats, we've had some festivals, Moonfest, you know, there's Prairie Pothole. Like we're trying to build things independently, and the more success that the MoonCats can create, to me, my goals, and I think the Cats as well, are to not, like, we don't want to do it alone, right? Like that's something that I've always said, like if I want to get rich or get bigger or whatever. I don't want to do it alone, because that's how you're lonely, right? Like, you want your friends to come with you. And if that means I have to make a little bit less to help them come with me, or to share my knowledge so they can try to take advantage of the things that I was able to take advantage of, I want to do that. I want to spread all the love so that like the rest of the community can come up with us. And like, I think that there's an opportunity to do that if you take a hold of it. And I'm a doer, and so like I want to attack that, you know what I mean? And I think that it's just really cool, and it's a really cool opportunity, not only for us but for our community to like step up and be like, let's do this, like let's get behind these like homegrown boys that embody what North Dakota is about. They sing about the good times. It's sing-along songs. People love it. Kids love it. You know, I've never seen a kid come to a MoonCats show and not get a little jiggy. You know, it's like you get a 5-year-old, you know, the kids that don't think, you know, when you're young enough where you don't have to think, like every time a little kid and like that, every person smiles, you know, like there's nobody in the crowd that doesn't see a little kid doing a little jiggy and doesn't get a little smile on their face, you know. And it's like, that's what the MoonCats are about, community. And like, that's what North Dakota's about. And that's what, like, why I went to Phoenix and went to ASU and came back to North Dakota and started my business here, and why I don't want to leave here, because of the community and the camaraderie and the ability to ask a stranger for help, or stranger might just be your community member. It's not a stranger, because you know that people care about people. It's not about me. It's not just about me. It's about us, you know. And I think that that's always driven me, and I think that drives the Cats, and it drives what we're trying to do, you know, with the Kickstarter, with, you know, bringing music here through events. You know, we threw an event in Grand Forks this winter called the North Country Hootenanny, and we brought a world touring bluegrass band in from Minneapolis that we've played with, and just we played in Grand Forks, which we don't play that often, but we took a leap of faith, and we, you know, brought this amazing music there, and we played, and it was just like a really cool thing. And we want to like show them that, hey, come to North Dakota, because we have fans here. We have community that love music. If you come here, people will come see you. You know, I think a lot of times these bands, I see tours that are like Minnesota, South Dakota, Montana. And they're not even huge bands, but they just for some reason don't find a date in North Dakota. And it's like, it's great here. People love music, but it just kind of gets passed by. And I think that we have a unique opportunity to help circumvent that. And like, with me on board, we can kind of push the envelope. We're not just musicians. We're going to throw some events. We're going to do some other things. We're going to, you know, we're not a 1-point band. You know, we do merch sales, you know, we do merchandising. It's not just, hey, we're going to play music for you. We're entertainers. We have merchandise. We are going to maybe do some events. Like, there's a whole scope of things. We're going to advertise. Like, it's a small, big business, you know?
I got 2 more questions for you, because I know you got a flight at 5 a.m. and I'm going to be cautious of that for you. And this is a great conversation, by the way. What is the number one lesson you've learned so far managing the MoonCats? If you had to pick one thing that you'll take for the rest of your life that has taught you something very profound.
Just being very, like, understanding of people. You know, I've always been very understanding of people, but you have to be like even more with musicians, kind of. You know, it's just like it's a very delicate thing. Like, I've always loved music, but like people that make their own music and write their own songs, it's a very like in touch thing. It's very emotional, and even though they might not always say it is, you know. So it's like you have to be very like understanding and listen, and like I also am kind of a little type A and like to control things. So like just understanding that, like taking a step back and listening, and just like working as a team. I don't know if that would necessarily be like my...
Well, that was huge. That was good. That was a good answer. If anybody watching this, gets moved or is fired up a little bit, about local music and the MoonCats and hearing a little bit about the story, what's the number one thing somebody could do if they want to support the MoonCats? What would you tell them that they could do this next week?
Well, for the Kickstarter, you can go to helpmooncats.com.
Okay.
That'll take you right to the Kickstarter. That's our number one way to support us right now. In the future, for not only the MoonCats, but every single band, just like our posts, like our reels, listen to our songs, just engaging, we live in this social media world that's so crazy, and you have to be so on social media, and it sucks. Musicians don't want to be on social media, or they don't want to play the game of social media, and I get it, but it's so beneficial to us to the more people, our friends, just hit the like button, comment on it. It kicks that algorithm a little bit, if you're looking to support your local band, go out and see them live, right? They work their asses off to get to practice, to feel perfect, to feel good, to put their heart on the line to go out there and play.
Right.
Just show up,
right.
Go to shows, like their posts, listen to their music. You don't have to buy merch, you don't have to tip, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. If they move you to do it, support it. These are people that are trying to do what they love, and that's so admirable. And if that inspires you, just be engaged, and if you are inspired by the MoonCats, like I said, helpmooncats.com. That's the best thing we can do. That's the best for us, that's the best for our community, everything,
straight up.
Go there. We made a really amazing video that Matt shot for us, and yeah, it's really cool. It kind of breaks down everything that the album's about, where some of the costs go, what we want to do with it, how we feel about the album, and it just kind of embodies it. Just take some time to watch that,
Well, I appreciate you being on.
There's a lot of tiers that are involved with the Kickstarter, as low as just a digital download for $10. There's something that you can get in return. You can donate for nothing if you would like, but maybe you want a vinyl. We're gonna print out vinyls, and there's a $60 package for a signed vinyl. All three MoonCats will sign it. There's some smaller packages, $75 is some custom merch that will be specific for the Kickstarter. We probably won't put it out after the Kickstarter. It's just going to be if you are a part of this, you're going to get one of a kind, or maybe 1 of 30 shirts that will go out if there's only 30 people that get the merch package. And then there's some really cool ones, one of my ones that is really interesting to me at $250. We're going to do some songwriter sessions in the winter where each MoonCat, Sky, Slinger, Danny are going to take an hour, and whoever signs up for this can, log into Zoom, and they'll just kind of talk about their process of how they write their music. Each one probably does it a little differently, and we write a lot of songs, and they write a lot of fun, cool songs, and think from different places. And if you ever have wanted to write, or just want to learn to write, whether it's songs or anything, why not learn from the MoonCats,
That's cool.
And so that's a fun one. At $500, Danny has a bunch of washboards that he has accumulated over the years that he's going to custom design for anyone that wants a washboard. So he's going to paint it. He's going to put the bells. He's going to put the slinky on it. He's going to, whatever you need.
Yeah.
You're going to get some thimbles. Maybe you set it up in your office because it's just a one-of-a-kind MoonCats washboard. Maybe you're going to play it.
That's cool.
You can do it's multifunctional. And then there's the big ones, and the ones that help push the campaign further, like the private parties. A local private party is $2,500. So that would mean sound, lighting, full band, basically full concert of wherever you would like to do it within the state of North Dakota. And then if you're outside the state of North Dakota, there's the $5,000 private party package. Cool. So even venues, if we run into a problem where we book up so fast that someone will reach out and be like, hey, can I get you for June 25th of 2025? And we have that date booked for the last 6 months. And it's like, if you couldn't get us this year, here's a great way to get on our books for next year. We might not, like if you get in on this Kickstarter and get one of these packages, you're basically locking your date in for 2026 or later 2025 if our schedule is available.
That's
so
cool.
like there's cool things like that,
Love that. That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
And hey, I have a really good feeling that this isn't going to be the first time we're talking like this. And I think there's going to be more things we're going to connect on in the future. So thank you for being on.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.